Welcome, everyone. My name is Bridget Cabrera, she, her, hers, and I'm the Executive Director of Methodist Federation for Social Action. MFSA is an over 100-year-old faith-based policy and organizing network. Our mission is to mobilize, lead, and sustain a justice-seeking United Methodist movement, energizing people to be agents of God's justice, love, peace, and reconciliation. We're so excited to be hosting this series of webinars with the Order of Deaconess and Home Missioners and the United Methodist Volunteers in Mission. The Order of Deaconess and Home Missioner is a lay order of the United Methodist Church of individuals who've committed their lives to a full-time vocations in ministry of love, justice, and service. Together, they form a covenant community that is rooted in Scripture, informed by history, driven by mission, ecumenical in scope, and global in outreach. Deaconesses and home missioners function through the diverse forms of service and follow four mandates, which are to alleviate suffering, eradicate causes of injustice and all that robs life of dignity and worth, facilitate the development of full human potential, share in the building global community through the Church Universal. And if you'd like more information on the Deaconess-Home Missioner relationship, you can feel free to send an email to deaconess@uwfaith.org. We acknowledge this land and the many lands that we are all joining this call from, its history and all the being seen and unseen, known and unknown. And as we step into our work on these many lands, most of us as uninvited guests. We offer this work in the spirit of reparation, devoting ourselves to justice. As we strive to uplift the legacy of all of these places, we invite you to acknowledge the indigenous land of where you are joining from and type that in the chat. A few announcements concerning our call to get today. By participating in our webinars, we covenant together to co-create an equitable and brave space where we learn, engage, and grow in relationship together. We are recording this webinar, and that recording will be shared in the coming days. As you have questions, you can feel free to type them in the chat at any time. You don't have to wait till the end for the Q&A and the official Q&A portion. You can type them anytime as they come to you so you don't forget. And closed captioning is available. It's automatically generated, so expect to see, there'll probably be spelling errors, but we do have that available. Today, our moderator for our conversation today is Deaconess Megan Hale. She, her, she's the executive for the Office of Deaconess and Home Missioner, administered by United Women in Faith. She was consecrated as a deaconess in 2014. In 2023, she graduated from Jude Theological University with a Master of Art in Theology and Ministry, Social Justice Advocacy. And prior to working for United Women in Faith, Megan served as a 7th grade literature teacher in Arlington, Texas, as well as the Reconciling Ministries coordinator for the then Central Texas Conference. Megan serves as the National Board for the Methodist Federation for Social Action as a Program Council co-convener, as well as on the steering committee for the New York chapter of MFSA. She now lives in Arlington, working remotely from her home. Her church and conference memberships are still in New York. In her spare time, Megan enjoys reading, gardening, walking her dog multiple times each day, cooking, and anything in nature, especially if it involves sunshine and water. Welcome, Megan.
Thank you, Bridget. Well, welcome everyone. We are glad you were able to join us for the third webinar in our series Beyond Borders, Centering Humanity in the Immigration Conversation. Today, we're joined by Deaconess Cindy Andrade Johnson. Cindy is a humanitarian advocate who has worked with migrants for quite a long while. We may ask you how long you've been in this ministry, Cindy, in a little bit. As long as I've known you, for sure. She lives with her husband, Mike Johnson, on the border of U.S. and Mexico in Brownsville, Texas. Her home church is Travis Park United Methodist Church, and Cindy is currently working as a consultant in the following areas: education, cultural competence, migration, and missiology. She works closely with La Posada Providencia. And I'll ask Cindy now to share a little bit about what are you doing? What do you do out in the field with migrants and immigrants? And also, part two, how, what is La Posada Providencia and what does your work look like there?
Oh, thank you for inviting me first, and also thank you for all the people that are joining us. I saw that everyone's scrolling. I'm so excited that I'm hanging with a whole bunch of friends, and also one of the writers of a book that knows a lot about migration is here. Uh, that I use the book for learning. Let me talk about my work in. I work in Mexico. In Mexico. I've worked there for many years because I've lived there across the border. And in Mexico, what I do is just really form relationships so that we can help the migrants there. So I work with a person that takes care of medication and uh, uh, some places to buy the stuff. Also, if there's something that horribly happens in Mexico, we can have some groups that help them send the bodies back to their home country or emergencies. We have some people in Mexico right now. Mexico is got a lot of National Guards. I've met them because they came in because of our system right now with our government. Uh, Nice people. They're just hanging there because of the tariffs and because they're trying to stop fentanyl. But honestly, I talked to the young men, and they're just saying they miss their home. There's much to do there. So that's Mexico. At a time, everyone was staying in Mexico where there were camps and everything. Now it's better. In the U.S. side, I have been assigned to La Posada Previdencia, but still in the U.S. side, also I work with a lot of groups, a lot of attorneys, a lot of medical teams, anyone that will advocate and amplify the voice of the migrants. At La Posada Previdencia, it's a long-term place for people to live if they need to, or short-term. Do we provide housing in a nice facility? We just built a new facility. We provide. They go to school if they're school age, or not if they're older. We do some education there. I teach there for 3 days a week, English as a second language, but I also get to play a little bit about with science. We do a lot of environmental work also. We also provide some attorneys and some psychologists there. We kind of wrap around services there at La Posada. It's one of the few that we have in Texas and really around the country. We right now, presently, we're getting people from all over the country because places are closing down because the numbers are smaller around, and these are the people that have absolutely no sponsorship. Did I answer all the questions there, Megan?
Yes, yes, thank you. And I follow the news, I read articles every day, and it's constantly, it seems like, everything's changing faster than I can keep up with it. But could you share about what is the current situation for migrants where you are serving?
Oh, okay. The most excellent question, because I'm blessed that I get to work with the migrants directly and everything. The situation is really horrible. I can just say that um, because the the and it's happened the last time, but it's happening again worse, where people are their rights are being taken away from them, and even the things that they were doing correctly, they are now rescinding it. The government is like right now. I just saw. I shouldn't be reading the stuff while I'm trying to talk here. I saw about the CPB1 app. That one right now, just 2 days ago or yesterday, I called ACLU because I saw that they were pulling it back. Most of the people at La Posada, in La Posada's in San Benito, Texas, most of the people at La Posada, Border Patrol came and dropped them off because they had gone through this process. They were documented using this process. They have 2 years to go look for asylum or the green card or whatever avenue their legal status lets them do that. Right now, they told them that they have 7 days to stay or leave right away. Well, that we talked to some attorneys that at this time is not. They told us to hold off everybody because there's a lot of misinformation and they send it out, even the government. Hold off because if you're in the process, you came in, but you might be working with a lawyer right now in the process for asylum. So why would you leave while you're working on asylum? Just because you came in that way, but with that process. So there's where you need to work really closely with people. The other with lawyers. The other one is, of course, raids in our community on a border area and everywhere across the country. There's raids, and those raids are being conducted without following any of our constitutional rights. Our Fourth and Fifth Amendment constitutional are not being followed. They are going into your home and without the proper paperwork. We're trying to train everyone. The schools, remember the schools, churches, and hospitals. We're trying to train people that what forms to exactly use because that is detrimental. Some ladies at La Posada that were our clients and now are working with us, their apartment has been knocked on 3 times already, uh, but they just don't answer the door. They are here with documentation, but it's not worth them taking you away by mistake, and then you have to go and get lawyers. You have to go. Your family sees a trauma. Your children see the trauma. Those are the things that are very, very traumatic. I've heard stories of how they come in they come in very hot. That's what we call it, where it's like if someone's doing some horrible stuff and it's just innocent people with their rifles covered. I would be scared if someone would approach me that way. Um, that's kind of what's going on, and you see it how they're now revoking visas. Those things are happening all over the country in our communities. Um, so there's a lot of every 2 weeks or 3 weeks. How we handle all this information is someone is in charge of transportation, um, that they watch all the planes taking off. A lot of the planes are taking off from Harlingen, which is right off San Benito, and Brownsville, where I live. It's 20 minutes away. The ones are going to Guantanamo and the ones that are going to El Salvador. So the ladies that have been there, they say, my husband, he just got deported. He's not part of a gang. They're working on trying to get people. So those are the things that we're having a lot of trouble because of the no due process. They take someone, half the family is here and there. It's just a horrible thing to see. Where the children, you don't know what to tell your children because the dad's just gone. And we know that they've made mistakes. And there's been, of course, they've picked up some U.S. citizens. And we try to do the training with the red cards, with anything we can do. ACLU has been just an incredible partner, Pro Bar. I'll tell you what you should do afterwards. These things are the ones that are happening.
Wow, thank you. That it's overwhelming. It's really overwhelming. Um, as a reminder, I have not said this yet, but I know some people are already putting questions in the chat. As you think of your questions for Cindy, please put them in the chat and we'll have a time for Q&A at the end. But just keep them coming in the chat and we're saving them to ask in a little bit. So our next question, you said a little bit of this near the end of what you were just sharing with the red cards and ACLU and that kind of thing. But what can we do as individuals or as churches to help immigrants and migrants right now?
Well, the first thing is you're doing the perfect thing right now. We got to educate ourselves exactly. Listen to the migrants. They are the persons that we need to really, really listen to. we're amplifying their voice. We're not doing anything for them. We're just amplifying their voices. That is extremely important. Education. I always start, and I didn't start here. We do this work because I feel like we're mandated to do it by our Christian beliefs. Our Bible tells us. There's a book on immigration in the Bible, and my friend Sarah Towan is from London, and she wrote an incredible book. She followed us for a long time and has all the background on how the immigration system has worked, and it's probably going to work in the future. I wish I had the book in my hands right now, but that we got to educate ourselves. Educate ourselves. Then the other thing is work with groups. Make sure you make friends with everyone. Right now, you better make. Here's Sarah. Make friends with attorneys around the area, because when you have questions, you can pick up the phone and call them up. ACLU, the groups that are working with migrants right now, join them. Find the groups that are working in areas and that they have your values. There's so many groups right now. Your values and your systems of thinking of how the world should work with those groups and support them. Right now, I'm very worried because all the fundings are being cut. Texas went after all the nonprofits. Now it's federal that's doing all of the nonprofits. Keep those groups, keep sending money to them wherever they are near you. Keep them they're not going to be functioning huge because they cut everything off, but you don't want it to go away. I remember in the last administration that Trump was in there, where the Lutherans lost all the resettlement stuff. And that was a big problem because it took about a year or 2 years after they could get going again. So you got to keep everything going. They want us to give up. So you support all these small groups everywhere and amplify the migrants' voices the best you can. Make those relationships.
And on the flip side of that, is there anything that we should not be doing? Can you share about that?
Oh, God, yes. This is what happened to me. I always want to amplify. I was working with the bishops on one little part, and I wanted to amplify the work of the migrants, amplify their voice. And what do we need? What do we need to do? And I was going to put one on one of these meetings, and then after I had to set it all up, and then I prayed about it. I'm like, I'm putting a huge target on that person, and they're going to say yes to us because the dynamics we're helping. Of course they want to say yes to us of how we can do it. So of course we're going to respect the people so well and not use them. They already feel every turn they make they're being used. They're being used for pawns. They're being used for for political reasons. They're being used everywhere. So of course we need to be very careful with culture. Study the culture of the groups that you're working with. Right now I'm working with, in La Posada we've had 108 different people from different countries. So everyone is in a different culture, a different way of doing things. So we need to, before you go out, we need to do the studying and check our culture competency, check on how things are done, and ask the questions after your. And the other thing is, of course, you never ask, can I hear your story? Or can I this, because you are not a psychologist. I don't hear the stories unless I am forced to hear the stories. I've worked with some lawyers and have taken some depositions down, and then I'll have to hear the stories. And the story I'm using is going to be for their case. And I tell them, this is the only reason I'm asking you this, because otherwise you would not want anyone to ask about your worst day in your lives. Um, how was it? I'm like, are you crazy? Of course it was horrible. Because there's been rapes, there's been what's happened in the whole country. That's why they're leaving. Um, and work a lot with the psychologists and counselors. We have a psychologist and counselors at La Posada to help us do that work. pastors and us, unless you're trained, we can't do that work.
Right. Well, thank you. As I was saying before, please continue to put your questions in the chat, and I'm actually going to start asking some of those questions now. So as you've thought of different, as Cindy's been sharing different things that have come to your mind, please ask those questions now. And I know you talked a little bit about this a moment ago about the CBP1. Can you share for people who may not know what is that? What is CBP1? And then the recent administration actions, how that affects people.
Okay. There was no systematic way of coming to the border because we used to have it where people would just come to the border and present themselves. There was lines, but in those lines, people were taking advantage of who would come first or who would come later. Those type of things did not work. And then by keeping people with MPP, remain in Mexico, that kept people bottled up, and then the people that had money got to get in front of the line. So they develop a fair way of putting people through the process to go to the office to do the paperwork. So that is an app that they used after probably 3 years or 2 years after the big mess. And it was working okay. There was a lot of mistakes on it in the beginning. If you're a person of color, it would not even snap your face right, because it's just how it was made. There was lots of mistakes made, and it's not perfect, but it was something that was used to more orderly bring the people between the ports of entry, not between the ports, at the ports of entry. And there's over 800,000 people, maybe more, a little more, that use this app, that worked where there were, because of medical reasons, because of asylum reasons, for whatever reason, they did this app. That was a Biden app that he put it there. It didn't go through Congress, I believe. So that's why now Trump is taking it off. But those people were promised 2 years getting it there. And in law, in the UN, you have a whole year to ask for asylum when you come here. So those things, that's why we don't want people to move yet till we hear more about what we're working as fast as we can. I haven't seen a lawsuit from ACLU or different places to see what exactly does it mean. But those people that they waited 2 years in Mexico, and I saw horrific conditions in Mexico. Waited there 2 years. I mean, there was stabbings, there was sequestering, there's rape. They waited the 2 years to go to that app. Like they say, do it the right way, get in the line. They got in the line, they followed through what the government told them to do. Now it's being pulled back. It's just like the visas that we're pulling from students. They can pull them from religious people that speak up. That's the problem there. Did I explain it okay?
Yes, thank you for that. The next question is specifically about Venezuelans. Do you know how much, or do you know much? Can you share much about Venezuelans that were here working legally, but now their status has been canceled?
I believe Venezuelans, we have a lot of them, Venezuelans, and it's been back and forth. We at La Posada, we had a lot of Venezuelans. A lot of them have crossed. It's been back and forth where they've canceled. I think they came through temporary protection orders, and that it's impacted. Sarah's given us some good information there. Please read it. She did all the research on this stuff, and so it just swings us back and forth, and they're labeling everyone a danger. So they gave them humanitarian parole that you could come in, you can do this work, and we'll work through the process. And now it's being taken back, and they're thinking of other countries. That's just a back and forth one, and there've been some class lawsuits against it, and they win and then they lose, and that's how it keeps on going right now.
Oh, thank you. Another question for you. How could we, those who are watching this webinar today or who may watch it later, how can we support your work specifically with donations and other supporting items to assist those that you are working with, the immigrants and migrants?
That is a wonderful question, but La Posada, we have a website and you can go directly to there. The ones in Mexico, that is the hardest one because we can't even, the lady it's with Gladys that I work with there and some attorneys, they don't even have bank accounts, stuff like that. So they write me a check and I take it to them, which I don't like doing because of cash and stuff like that. But that's where we're at. I now got a name for it, but I want to pivot. Thank you for trying to help us, and I'm happy about it. But you can locally support, like I said, make friends with attorneys. There's for pro bars. There's different attorneys that you can send funds to, and it's partnering up with them. And if something happens at your church or something, you've partnered up with them. Go and volunteer at the places if you want, close by. So I appreciate it and I'd love to take it, but also you have places all over the country that need that. Check at the university. There's a university nearby that's got some attorneys. They work a lot with immigration. You can provide funds in those places and volunteer to do that work.
All right. Right. So this next question is about, well, at the time when she typed it, here, let me just read it to you. It's happening on the state level too. I live in Indiana, and there's a lot of state legislation that will hurt our immigrants. Any strategies about state efforts that would differ from the federal advocacy?
Yes. Right now, I am working with Texas Impact, and that's for the whole state of Texas, and it's all the different faith denominations together. I was on a call yesterday here in my same little suitcase, and the biggest thing is we're keeping an eye on it. And what we're doing right now is in Texas, they want to do this state voucher stuff. You just got to be strategic. We're hoping to hold off the state voucher, keep it online forever. They only have so many days in Texas to work, and then they're going to go after the immigration, and they're going to go after reproductive rights, all those other things. So if you can just stop them from doing that work, it helps. What they try to do also is like in the education vouchers that they want us to have, they're putting that immigrants cannot be given vouchers. Well, immigrants never use vouchers. I mean, it would have to be such a small amount. So they're just using it for us to get upset because they says, well, we should sue. No, because if we do that, they'll question the constitutional right to that we should teach every person that is in the United States, every child in the United States. So you got to be very strategic not to triple wire from the state to go to federal. Um, there is horrible. In here we have Lone Star in Texas, also horrible, where our whole area is militarized in the borders. But in other states, what they're doing is having I think it's something eight, but it depends on your state, where the state and the federal government are working together. There is a memorandum of understanding when they're working together. And what happens is if they don't work together, they can take your funding off it. So some people say, "Yeah, we'll work together," and who knows how it works. So it's very nuanced of those things. So I worry about the state and those two working together. I hope I kind of answered, but there's no answer for 50 states. God knows what they're doing in the different ones.
Yeah, yeah. Um, can you describe a typical day? I don't know if there is a typical day for you, but what would a typical day be like for you working with immigrants and migrants?
Well, there's no typical day because I schedule where I go once a week to Mexico. I try to. Then I go 3 days a week to La Posada to volunteer as a teacher, but I end up doing whatever they tell me to do. Um, and then I'm on Zoom meetings a lot because of the relationship building that we have to have, and saying this is what's happening, because I feel that's my most important work, to relationship building, because when I see something, if I see people trapped in razor wire that I have seen for hours, or I've seen a dead body in a river, which I've seen, they got to call me a liar straight out. So that's why I keep on telling the story everywhere. Where I try to learn from the migrants. They tell me the story. My husband did this, that. So I don't have a typical. I do a lot of. I was here in Minnesota, especially for friends that are going to work and are going to partner up, because Minnesota's group here has been incredible. They built not half of it, but a lot of La Posada with funds. I'm going to go and talk to them and everything. But that's my whole life, trying to educate, but educate the groups that are going to work with me. If you're not going to, if you're, I had people that call me up, hey, I want to talk to you because I don't agree with you. Let's go and have coffee. I'm like, God, I'd love to, but I'm sorry, I'm busy. Why am I going to spend an hour or 2 hours working with a group or a person that's just going to not agree? And it's okay. You don't have to agree with us. Those are your values. You couldn't come and join me, but I'm not going to spend hours doing that, because if not, I never sleep.
Yes. Okay, so next question is how do international law and conventions to which we are party tie into the U.S. legal system?
Well, I wish Sarah was talking to this one, because she's gone all over doing this. What's happening, just what you're seeing, we're not making friends anywhere. I mean, with tariffs, with everything, we're conflating everything. You saw how there you have 1980 Refugee Act, where we have these things going on, but we're not honoring anything right now in Texas. But I'm sure it's going to be all over. They're going to open, which we worked so hard to stop family detention for children and the whole families, and Carnes and Dilly. We're going to have them open right now. That is against the UN protection of children. I forgot the only. We have not signed that because we believe children can be in prisons. We believe children, it doesn't matter. Children are in facilities all over the place. Our Walmarts are facilities. In Brownsville, right? I take people to the hospital, Walmart. There are facilities where children are kept, thousands of children. They don't let a pediatrician go in there. They don't let uh, a so our government is not being responsive to any of our stuff. And it's breaking here and there, and then they don't even know what they're doing, honestly. When so it's hard. So we are the people. There's like 4 countries that have not signed that, and we're one of them, for to taking care of our children, or children in the world. I'm sorry, not
Yeah.
you know.
And that reminded me of two things. One, for-profit prison, the system, and how they make money based on the number of people that they have in detention. Is that, anything you could share about that?
Well, it's coming back. That's the sad part. We have disinvested. It was going down. It's coming back. There, but it could change. Look how they're putting people in Guantanamo. Not in Guantanamo. That one was way too expensive, but they still did put some people there. But in El Salvador, so it's going to cut in this, or is it the same company that's part of El Salvador? We don't know. Whenever we went into those for-profit groups, we know that different people own parts of it. When I would walk in, I'd have 4 friends say, check who's running the counseling, check who's running the phones, check who's running the medical. They weren't providing it, but they were charging for it. The bedding was over $300 a person every night. I mean, I'd like for everyone. I always tell people, when I tell you stuff, go and verify. That's why I like working with some people. Go and verify what I'm saying. It's in the government papers. Everything I'm saying, like the numbers are going down. during the government papers. My fear is that we're starting to manipulate those numbers now. So yeah, that's going to come back. Oh, they're going to try to come back.
Yeah. Um, do you work with the Justice for Our Neighbors, or I think the name might be Immigration Law Task, or at least in New York, where I'm connected, Immigration Law and Task Force, or Justice for Our Neighbors? And can you share some about that?
Yes, it was huge. It's now in the middle size. They do really good work. The problem is it's a small group, so partner with them, but and then partner with the bigger law firms that are doing this work. Uh, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. Everything. I think there's like 30, so I don't know enough. About 30. There was used to be like 35 places around the country. I don't know how many they are, but I mean we need hundreds right now. So
Yeah. And speaking of, because that's a United Methodist
yes.
agency organization, um, for at least the last 10 years since I have known Cindy here, I've seen her kind of as like the face of United Methodist working with immigration and migrants in different ways. You've been featured in many articles in Response Magazine by United Women in Faith, and anytime I feel like people want to learn, you're like the go-to person. But I know there are other United Methodists that are also involved in immigration work. So can you highlight some of that for us?
Absolutely. There's some all over the country. And even when they talk about my stuff, I'm like, you all have been part of all of this. Absolutely. We have people working all over the country. There's task force. And the very important one is coming up this in April later on. I'm very excited. They're going to have two spokespersons for each conference. So that they get learn how to really present and how to talk about the subject. So every conference is going to have two people going. I think we're going to Omaha, Nebraska. So we're going to go up there for that. We have Methodists and people of all denominations everywhere working. And it would be way too many. We have a whole bunch of deaconess here that are here in this meeting that are working. It would be too many people for me to name, and I'm going to leave people off. Uh, yes, there's there. Go to your if you need to find someone specifically, go to your conference office and ask who's working on migration, and you'll have them there.
Great. And kind of on the same in the same vein as that, I'm someone that really enjoys the legislation at annual conference and resolutions, and I wonder if there's anything that we could do to raise awareness using the legislative process through our conferences, or are you aware of anything that we could be working on in that way?
You know what? I'm going through the weeds as me too. I'm a legislative person, where I really just want to pass what we have right now, um, because people right now it's a national thing. It's so big, the politics. We can say what we stand for, and it really doesn't have to be in legislators. Can we just say this? Um, we did one time when they were taking the children away. We did that legislation at the time, and it's because it was our own general, uh, or it was a Methodist person that was doing it. Uh, um, that was pulling the children apart of the last administration, in Trump's last administration, Jeff Sessions. I was trying to remember. So honestly, you can. That you want to support migrants. It's what's in our book of discipline. But I can't think of something that I would want to push right now. Honestly,
Yeah,
we just got to keep on going right now and changing minds.
yeah. Okay. Well, if someone is in imminent danger of deportation, um, is there anything that can be done? Like what could we do?
First of all, I always tell people get prepared. There's preparations things. It depends if they're a family or they're by themselves. Make plans that if I don't come back, this are leave the paperwork ready for a friend and where they're at. The other one, there's some apps, and the biggest thing I was going to pick up my phone, but I'm using my phone to do this thing. Use your phone. You see, I'm starting to document people when they do it, because when they do the deportation stuff, a lot of the stuff they do so illegally that it might be used in your case when you do. I got a little education in immigration law. It might be used to adjust one of the elements in your legal status so that you could stay here in the United States. So document, just don't get in the way. Don't get in the way of the process of what they're doing, and use that camera. There's apps also. I got a media app, Migra app from ACLU that you punch it when you're getting picked up, and they pinpoints where you got picked up, and the camera starts rolling. And then it says where to call someone so they could inform someone that you're being picked up. That's the biggest thing. If you're by yourself, if no one had taken that picture of the lady or anything, we don't know that's happening. So that is our big tool right now. Have the phone numbers to call someone if someone's going to come by, and have a witness, accompaniment. That's what it is. I am now taking people to airports more than I used to. We now don't go shopping as much as we used to with the migrants, even though they have their paperwork. I got even funds from a grant from the Methodist Church to go on field trips. Guess what? I bring the field trip to them. We have workshops. So right now, poor people are getting ACLU once a month, because I want the best education we can for them. But that's what the accompaniment. You got to be there with them, and then you have your relationships with those attorneys that I'm saying, and they can help us out. That's all we have right now, honestly.
So if you see if you see something taking place, if you happen upon it, then you should start recording. Probably that would be a good thing to do. Start recording with your
Yes,
phone and Mhm.
absolutely. I've done that before, where all of a sudden they're rushing, and I was there. ACLU got that one. Like 6 cars come rushing in, and I get out of my car. I'm putting gas, so I get my phone and start taking pictures of it and everything. And the person didn't get, but I mean, it was scary. I mean, really close by to each other. Guess what? I thought they had guns or something. They had a paper tag on their car. A paper tag. They endangered all those people because of a paper tag. Um, and it was about 10 cars. So I let ACLU, I send them the video. I mean, that would be crazy. And if they had pulled a person out, of course, something else, because they'd be embarrassed of what, they're stopping someone in this manner. And it was a Walmart gas station. I talked to Walmart that was very dangerous for all of us. Um, I'm the big tattletale. So use your cameras, be a tattletale.
There's a question that came through about Pakistan. Are you doing any work with Pakistan or people from
From
Pakistan?
all over the world. I visited someone from Pakistan. Remember when we went to Nashville? I went to Tennessee from there. Yes, she was a person that was a owner of a factory and did beautiful dress work and everything. Kicked out because Taliban, and yeah, absolutely. Ukrainians, same thing. They were in one of our like a whole line of Ukrainians at Progresso Bridge. So we have people from all over the world, from Africa, from everywhere.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay, back to the being allies and filming and that kind of thing. Um, I've read a lot, and another person shared in the chat that they've heard and read that we should turn off our thumbprint or Face ID on our phone so that authorities can't access the phone if you're filming or protesting. Or I've even heard like going through at the airport or ports of entry. Have you heard about this? And can you what is your advice there?
Yes, and I just today or yesterday there was they're checking the immigrants, all their social stuff, and I knew that. because that's what I used to do before. We would do stuff for calls, so they're checking on immigrants. Yeah, if you have the band to do it, I don't do it because I can't do my technology like that, but it's a smart thing to. And we think they don't have the right, but at ports of entries and for 100 miles, they have all these rights that they shouldn't be like that, but that's what it is in poor communities.
Mhm. What about, I think there was, so because I read all my articles, they kind of run together, but the Supreme Court ruling that just happened about due process that um, do you do you know what I'm talking about? And can you, I did not describe it well, but about like those that were sent to El Salvador that did not get due process and should have, and there was a ruling that I think now requires them to actually have due process, which should have already been constitutionally required before. Is that am I remembering that right? And
You
is
are.
there anything you can share about that?
It's still up in air. There, they said that they couldn't even bring the man back, the one that wasn't supposed to go. That they made a mistake. I don't know that one. It's so all these cases take so long to get through.
Yeah, yeah. And it seems like, and there's my thoughts about that, which I'm sure many people have. If the United States government is paying $6 million for them to be there, then surely they can find a way to bring them back.
Yeah, and those in those
Yeah.
flights, I'm glad they started publicizing the cost of those flights, the other one flights, and the way they're carrying people. And I was reading how uh, the people that were trained to be the the flight attendants, they're very upset because if there was an accident, they could not do anything to save their lives because they're in the chains, legs, waist, arms. So imagine when you're supposed to take someone out, all those people out in a certain time frame, you couldn't do it. So it would be everyone would perish in that situation.
Yeah, and you were saying that those flights that went to El Salvador were out, some were out of Harlingen, which is about 20 minutes from where you are
Yes.
or where you live.
Uh-huh.
Um, is it still happening or have they
Yeah.
stopped? Still happening.
Oh, there. I like what everything Sarah was putting there. It's still happening. It's not. It hasn't stopped. Who knows how it is. Tom Cartwright is a person that we work with. Like, we can't take care of everything. So some person does one thing, one person does another thing, another thing of monitoring everything. There's a call every week, and he's been doing these flights forever and ever. So he already had everything down when this happened. If you need to go and look, it's public information. No, it's happening. Hopefully, I don't know what theirs, and they're thinking of, but it was a joke according to. But see, that's where the slippery slope is. Uh, when one person hurts, we all hurt. Where it was a joke that he was willing to take U.S. citizens and put them in jail there because it would be cheaper. Well, there it's notorious for being really, really a horrible place where it's not, you still have rights in jails. So that is just uncalled for.
Yes, and what Sarah said in the chat, their due process rights today are our due process rights tomorrow. So be aware. That's
Yes.
no,
Uh,
I mean,
I'm glad Sarah's here because it's really important because she has come like when we had Dove. I have a lot of deaconess here and a lot of friends here. We had Dove. She was one of our speakers, and because she's done all this research stuff. That's where I learned a lot of my stuff um, from her book, but I don't have it all memorized. Her book, so.
yeah.
But it's really important to get that. That is a good piece of a book that we can really study.
Yes, maybe Sarah can put she may have already shared it, but a link to the book or the title of the book.
Let me brag about it. It's her. She's now in her third printing of it in 6 months. So that is I'm glad people are getting it in their hands.
Thank you. And a second award. Okay, so one more question. We may have time for more after this. So if you have others, please continue to put them in the chat. But yes, Cindy, were you about to say something?
No, no, no. I just go on
Oh,
like that.
okay.
That's it.
Okay. So, um, a very important part of ministry that we talk about a lot, for those of us who are in ministry, is self-care. And this work that you're doing is, heartbreaking and traumatizing and all the things. So what do you do for your own, to keep your energy up, or for your own mental health, or for your own self-care, to be able to continue and persevere through the work that you're doing?
So you think my mental health is okay then? I'm kidding. I got a counselor. That's why when I try to push the counseling to the migrants, I tell them that's the person I get my counseling with. She's a professor that teaches psychology at the university. I also, of course, church, and of course, I go and have. I like to travel and have fun. Although right now it's crazy but like I'm gonna go to Africa with you all and everything, have a great time. But right now it's just so much that I'm willing to give up my vacation time to Zoom and do these things because it's a really perilous time. You feel it, and the rights are just slipping away. The other one was, it was just cruel the last time. Now they're trying to take your rights away. They know how to do it, but we've learned from each other, and we're taking all these. So oh, I got off too. I started teaching again instead of, so I just do that, and I'm pretty positive, and I like the outdoors, like, do fun things. La Posada is a positive place for me, but now it's getting scary because of what it's going to hurt those people, because those were the ones that had made it through the process. They were in line, they did the work. Now they're changing the law. Because when I would go to Mexico, that would stress me out. I mean, honestly, to tell you the truth, sometimes I would hear stories and things, and my stomach would just, like, I'd go home and get sick. I'm, and then I worked with some lawyers, Harvey, and I would take the stories down so that they could process the whole thing. And I'd be like 10 people, and I'd hear about the rapes, about the other parts of their lives. It was like Mike, my husband would say once in a while, "Hey, try to kick in 5 more, Cindy. I'll have your dinner, to help more people out." I'm like, I was just wiped out. I'm like, I can't hear another story of another woman going through something like this. You're making me sad even right now. So it's very important to go and have your fun and departmentalize, and you see real happiness in one part. I always say I can go to a party and then the funeral, then go back to a party, because you can't let something control your life. That's negative. It's really negative. It's like our baptism, but God takes care of our baptism. We're gonna push against evil, but God wants us to be happy too. So that's where it is.
Yeah, and community is very important. Like community as resistance. I have a sign out front in front of my house that says "Community is resistance," and it's important to have those connections and relationships and have fun
Yes,
together, cry together, just be together. Those things are important.
absolutely. Sometimes I pop into your stuff without studying the book, but that's just with community. But half the time I'm in another meeting, so I can't make it. But these good relationships, like when Bridget calls me, I'm going to do whatever she tells me to do. When you call me, I'll do whatever you tell me. So the community is very important. Also, like all the deaconess and all the other Methodists and people of faith that are in this place.
Okay, well, on that positive note, as we share some strategies for ways to stay positive in the midst of all of this, and that I think that is the last of our questions. So I'm going to turn it back over to Bridget, but I just want to thank Cindy so much for being here and for sharing, um, and I'll pass it back to you, Bridget.
Thanks, everyone. And thank you all for being on this call today. Thank you, Megan. Thank you, Cindy, for being with us. This is our third and last webinar of this series. This webinar was recorded, as also the other two webinars were recorded. And so I just encourage you to share these, share the information, share these widely. You can use them in your churches, in your Sunday school classes, and talk about many of the things that we're talking about today with your friends, with your neighbors, with people at church. Build solidarity, and I think we have kind of a long to-do list from all the things we have been learning from these webinars. So thank you again. This recording will be shared on our website, on YouTube. So that should be up by the end of the week. And we do also have other webinar educational opportunities and webinars. So be on the lookout for other opportunities to gather in community and to learn. Thank you, everyone.